What is going on, all you Overlord fans? Today we have some big news. The beta patch notes have dropped, and we're going to be covering them in this video. Now, if you don't know, Overlord is currently, for a very short time in alpha for the game. On the 8th of August, which is in a few days, at 7 p.m. GMT, or for those on the East Coast or in the US, 3 p.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time, the game will transition from alpha to beta, which will include a complete wipe of all progress for your character. You have to recreate a new character and start all over again. And why is that? Because there are a lot of different changes coming to the game, and it makes sense to wipe. As you can see right here next to me, right here, there are several different changes coming out. In fact, 7 main changes and then a core philosophy change. So we have dungeon system changes, PvP loot multiplier changes, dodge mechanic changes, horseman changes, city travel changes, shrine changes, and rebalance changes, which covers a lot of different things. Now, we're going to go into details of it, so don't worry. We'll cover each step one by one. In fact, let's start off real fast with the core philosophy of what the game will be in beta. So here is a core balance philosophy update. Since the error system is not going to be a thing, the developer has made a few changes to how the game's going to function at the core to make sure that it's still a fair game without introducing seasonal wipes, if you will. Big notes here are raw bonuses across the board are being nerfed so that it's not as easy to accelerate within this game, and so it takes more time, there's more of a grind, and so it doesn't take like a week or two to just show up and be number 1 or 2 on the leaderboard, right? Additionally, they want to encourage more PvP, and there's several different changes to include that dungeon change that promotes more PvP, because the whole point of this game is that it's a PvP idle game, which is an interesting concept in of itself, but its entire core is based around PvP. Then you have to encourage more attacking and to make sure that players don't just, absolutely max out their defense, and the veteran players just can't be attacked by new players. They're making it a lot harder to build your defense. So you're going to see a lot more of glass cannons, which honestly I feel like a lot of players already play that style in this game from what I've seen for the past 2 weeks. But it's going to be a lot harder to build up your defense so you're not weak against a random Joe Schmo showing up. Now, I'm not saying that, new player can absolutely wipe out the first place, ranked player in the game. That's not, I would imagine that's not what's going to happen, right? But it still allows for the opportunity to be able to beat that first place player, even though they've been in the game for a long time compared to someone else. And truly, around the whole thing, this system is being built to allow soldiers to come around, to be enslaved, to be workers, and have that constant flow between soldiers to workers and that population to encourage more PvP and reduce all across the board so that it takes a longer time to play out the game, which will promote players to play longer. A couple other random things just of note. If you were an alpha tester, you are going to get an alpha tester badge, which was greatly appreciated. So if you haven't played the game, play it now, and I'm sure you'll get that alpha tester before the beta comes and before the whole wipe. Now's a perfect time to learn the game. But let's start hopping into the different changes that will occur. So first and foremost, here is one of the different things that is going to be a change. It's a small one. But guild power assistance change. So the guild power bonus to attack and defense will be based on contribution value of the guild and the player's attack and defense. So that used to be where guild power assistance, when you're attacking, it give you strength. It used to be really big, but now they're nerfing that so that your guild power does not absolutely make it so that you could destroy anyone. So just because you have a really strong guild does not mean that you're going to be able to blast everyone. You're going to have to rely more on your own strength as your character. Now let's talk about the dungeon changes that are going to occur. So right now in alpha, dungeons are used with energy to go and get resources, gold, metal, wood, and food. So you burn all your energy on a dungeon to get your resources and maybe an artifact if you're really lucky, and then you have no energy to do PvP, which takes away from the core aspect of the game, which is PvP. So they're revamping how dungeon system works. It's no longer going to take energy. There's no longer a hero training section within the hero portion. It's now you're going to send your hero off to a dungeon to go train. And it's a 2-hour time period with a 6-hour cooldown. And dungeons will reward hero XP for the hero that's in the dungeon, as well as a potential for artifact. And while that hero is within the dungeon, there will be no hero bonuses or hero buffs for you to utilize, whether it's your attacking or, resources are getting a higher percentage. But that's just how it is. And then also dungeons can be automated to automatically start when it's off cooldown, which is really nice because then you just constantly go through training for your hero and not having to manually click it, come back in the game, manually click it. So that's a idle portion of this idle PvP game. Now let's move into the PvP loot multiplier changes. And basically what it breaks down to is that it used to be that your PvP loot multiplier was based off of power ratio, but now it's going to be based off of population ratio. So what that means is if the attacker has a higher population value compared to a defender who has a low population value, then that means that attacker is going to earn less resources against that defender. So this protects new players coming into the game and getting pummeled by a veteran player, because that veteran player who's been in this game for a long time is absolutely going to have a higher population. So it promotes that veteran player to attack more veteran players and less of those new players. It gives a little breathing room for those new players, which is awesome, right? You don't want to be in a game, for instance, like SimpleMMO, show up level 200 and all of a sudden get smacked around by level 500,000, right? Like that's a problem within that game. And Overlord is solving it by doing it this way. So that basically breaks down the PvP loot section. Let's talk about dodge mechanic, because it completely is changed now. So if you don't know, dodge mechanic right now in alpha, if you're an attacker and you attack someone and that defender dodges, you get nothing. It's an all or nothing system for the dodge, which kind of sucks. So they decided to make a change, the developer did, to the dodge mechanic, and instead of it being an all or nothing, the dodge will give a diminishing return reduction on the amount of resources lost when attacked. So if attacker attacks a defender and they're able to dodge, that attacker will earn less resources from the defender as compared to a normal attack, which is great. I think that's a phenomenal. Instead of going all or nothing, which can be really frustrating sometimes when you're trying to attack that player, it's a less resources. That makes a lot of sense. So it's another excellent change to the system, to the game for the beta. Next, we have the Horseman change. So Horseman was an interesting concept. Horseman before give a percentage of your attack and bonus, but they cannot hold items from the armory that you purchase. Only soldiers can. In this case now, Horsemen are going to provide 100% bonus to attack and no bonus to defense. The developers trying to encourage having a baseline of power with Horsemen, however, encouraging players to still build up on soldiers, because again, the developer wants that loop of soldiers being enslaved into workers so that it's a constant grind and you can be reduced by attacks, which is important to the health of the game, where there's going to be no wipes. So it's just Horsemen are now going to be a baseline to keep your attack power at a certain level, which is nice. So you don't, completely lose out. So let's move over to city travel changes. So city travel changes, you're only going to be able to travel from one city to the other every 8 hours. So every big update, you'll be able to travel to a city and then you have that 8-hour cooldown. And the reason why is they're actually making, and we'll cover this a little bit later, but a little sneak peek, if you will. They're making it so that the cities have very unique niches to them, is what the patch note says. And we'll cover that a little bit more. But essentially, they want to make sure that you can't just jump around and get the different bonuses. And they want you to actually plan it out, think where you're going to go, and you're going to have to stay there and accept that bonus for that city before you can move on 8 hours later. And then we have the shrine changes. So shrine, all players can donate gold to the shrine to get different levels of buffs. So there's like 3 tiers of giving gold right now to get different buffs. It's updated, I believe, every 8 hours or changed every 8 hours. So like everything else that's getting nerfed, shrine bonus per level is being reduced. The levels are increased significantly though, and then the gold balance, the gold bonus is being rebalanced. So cheaper for earlier levels and more expensive for later levels. So the whole point of this change, in my opinion, which it solves this issue, is that you could get a shrine quest, but if somebody is already donated all the gold, because it's not too hard to donate the gold right now in alpha, you cannot, and you can't donate more gold to the shrine. Once it's maxed out, it's done, and you lose the opportunity to complete that quest and get gems, which are important in this game. So this will allow a longer time and a more gold to be donated, which means more players are able to complete that quest instead of being screwed because someone had a gold sitting around and they just maxed out the shrine real fast. Now, let's talk about all the different rebalance changes. And just to be very clear, the entire point is to nerf everything so that the gameplay goes on longer. So it's more of a grind to promote players continually playing for a longer time instead of being able to max out or absolutely destroy, within a week or two. So runes are getting nerfed across the board. So the bonuses themselves that runes provide are being reduced. The ability to get legendary runes is going to make it be harder. Higher rarity runes are going to be harder to get. There's going to be a bunch of balances around that. Shards, which upgrade runes, there's going to be a cost rebalance, so it's significantly increased for higher rarities, which makes sense. And there's going to be a different main way of getting shards. So the patch notes say there's going to be a source to acquire shards using metal or wood. I'd imagine some type of vendor at a city where you travel to, whether it's all the cities or one specific city, where you could use wood or metal to purchase rune shards to be able to upgrade your runes. Now, you still can destroy the runes that you don't want for shards, but that's going to be more of the secondary way of being able to acquire these different shards to upgrade your runes. So yeah, basically all around, it's making it hard to acquire these runes, upgrade the runes, and reducing the bonuses to said runes. Now, artifacts have also been balanced similar to the runes, again, making it harder to get artifacts and the bonuses being reduced. There's a bunch of different armory balances, which you can see on the screen right here. Again, reducing bonuses across the board. And now, what we talked about is city bonuses being reworked. So they have their own niche. I don't know exactly what that means, whether there's going to be like a focus on a resource per city or something like that, which it already kind of has. So, or maybe there's a population bonuses associated to the city. We'll see once the beta comes out for sure. Now, guild bosses have also been actually not nerfed. One of the few things when I read it that's not nerfed, but buffed, or I guess for players it's buffed, for the guild boss it's nerfed. I don't know, whichever way you're looking at it. But it's going to seem like guild bosses are going to be easier to beat, which they were already pretty easy to beat. But then again, maybe they're making it easier because your bonuses across the board are being reduced, so that they're balancing it accordingly to make sure it all works out. And then there's also, so when you start the game, you choose what race you want to be. There's going to be bonuses reworked for each of the different races. And I believe there's going to be even a new race potentially. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, again, across the board, reduce everything and make it a long-term game instead of a short-term. Grab everything and you're good to go. And there's a bunch of different small changes that the developer has also focused. But that's it. That is the beta patch notes that will come out again 8 August at the 7 p.m. GMT. It's going to be a full wipe, which means you have to start. All you'll have is your same login. You have to choose a new race, choose a new name, and rebuild everything. So thank you for watching. If you liked it, go ahead, hit that like button. Subscribe for more Overlord content, because we are pumping it out. I promise you, it's coming in and it's going to keep staying here. And then finally, leave a comment down below. What are you most excited about for the patch notes? Are you going to are going to jump on the second the beta happens? Let me know. I'm curious what everyone thinks about these patch notes. In my opinion, I believe it's all positive, and I can't wait for it. So that's it. That'll conclude this video. Till next time.